Have you ever imagined this someone you love suddenly collapses right in front of you, and in that moment you have only minutes to recognize what's happening? I know that sounds terrifying, but here's the truth. In the United States, a stroke takes a life every 3.5 minutes. Every 3.5 minutes. By the time you finish this video, more than one family will lose someone forever. I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and I need you to hear this. A stroke isn't just one of the leading causes of death. It's also a leading cause of permanent disability, robbing millions of Americans of independence, mobility, and quality of life. But listen carefully. Stroke does not have to be a death sentence. If you know the signs and you act fast, you can save a life. Sometimes you can even restore it to nearly normal. So let me ask you, would you be ready if it happened to your spouse, your parent, or even to you? Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to share a simple method. Just 6 letters. 6 letters that could mean the difference between tragedy and survival. When most people hear the word stroke, they imagine it's something sudden, something random, almost like lightning striking out of nowhere. But let me tell you the truth, it's not random at all. A stroke is what happens when the brain is starved of its lifeline blood. Either a vessel carrying blood to the brain becomes blocked, that's called an ischemic stroke, or a vessel bursts and bleeds inside the brain, that's a hemorrhagic stroke. 2 different paths, but both lead to the same terrifying outcome. Brain cells start dying within minutes. I remember treating a man in his 50s who thought he was perfectly healthy. He exercised, he never smoked. He worked long hours to provide for his family. One evening, he suddenly couldn't lift his coffee mug. By the time his wife realized something was wrong, he was struggling to form words. That was the beginning of a stroke. And the heartbreaking truth is this: if she hadn't recognized it quickly, he might never have spoken again. Science shows just how fast the damage unfolds. According to the American Heart Association, nearly 2 million brain cells die every single minute a stroke is left untreated. Think about that. Every minute you wait, years of memory, speech, and movement are being erased. That's why time isn't just important, it's everything. But only knowing what a stroke is doesn't save lives. What saves lives is recognizing the signs before it's too late. And here's the catch-up to 30% of people under 45 have no idea what those signs look like. That's like driving on the highway blindfolded. You don't realize the danger until it's too late. But just knowing this isn't enough, because there's another factor far more dangerous, the fact that most of these signs are silent at first. And unless you know how to spot them, you might never act in time. So let's uncover the first critical signal you need to watch for, one that shows up in the body before almost anything else. The very first red flag that often appears is something so simple yet so easy to dismiss: balance. Imagine this: you're walking across your living room and suddenly the floor feels like it's tilting, your legs feel heavy, or you can't quite steady yourself. Most people laugh it off, thinking maybe they stood up too fast or skipped lunch. But what if that stumble isn't clumsiness at all? What if it's your brain screaming for help? I once treated a young teacher, only 42, who brushed off weeks of dizziness. She thought it was just stress from late nights grading papers. Then one morning, she collapsed in front of her students, unable to stand. That loss of balance was her body's desperate warning. And while she survived, she now lives with lasting weakness that could have been avoided if she had recognized the sign sooner. Science confirms why balance is such a powerful early clue. When a stroke begins, the cerebellum, the part of the brain that controls movement and coordination, can be one of the first regions affected. According to neurological studies, strokes in this area account for about 10% of all cases, and yet they're among the most frequently misdiagnosed. Why? Because people assume dizziness or staggering is harmless. Now here's where it gets real. Every minute of hesitation increases the risk of permanent disability. And if you or someone you love suddenly can't walk straight or feels like the room is spinning for no clear reason, that's not the time to wait it out, that's the time to act. But knowing about balance alone won't save you, because stroke doesn't stop there. It strikes in ways that are even more deceptive. And the next warning sign hides not in how you walk, but in what you see. And when your vision begins to blur, the danger grows even faster. And just like balance can betray you, the eyes often speak even louder. Picture this: you wake up in the morning, open your eyes, and suddenly the world looks blurred, doubled, or even half missing. Most people blame it on being tired, needing new glasses, or staring at their phone too long. But sudden vision changes are one of the most dangerous signs your brain is under attack. I'll never forget a patient, a retired truck driver named Harold. One moment he was reading the morning paper, the next, the words on the right side of the page completely disappeared. He rubbed his eyes thinking it was nothing. Hours later, he was in the ER, unable to see out of one side at all. His stroke had stolen his vision before he even realized what was happening. Science backs this up. Studies in the Journal of Neurology show that up to 66% of stroke patients experience some form of vision, problem blurred, vision, double vision, or sudden blindness in one or both eyes. And here's the scary part. Many of them don't connect these changes to a stroke until it's too late. So if you or someone next to you suddenly can't see straight, if the world looks doubled or a whole part of your vision just vanishes, don't wait for it to clear up. Every second counts, and ignoring it could cost not only eyesight but life itself. But sight is only part of the story, because sometimes the face itself begins to change in a way you can't ignore. And when one side starts to droop or go numb, that's when the danger becomes impossible to hide. And if the eyes can reveal what words cannot, the face often screams the truth even louder. Imagine sitting across the dinner table, and the person you love smiles at you, but only half their face moves. The other half seems frozen, drooping, or numb. In that instant, it may look subtle, almost like tiredness. But make no mistake, that half smile could be the difference between life and death. I once cared for a grandmother named Ellen, who had always been known for her radiant smile. One Sunday afternoon, her daughter noticed something strange when Ellen laughed at a family joke. The left side of her mouth barely lifted. Thinking it was just fatigue, they carried on. Within an hour, Ellen couldn't speak clearly, and by the time they reached the hospital, precious minutes had been lost. That drooping face had been her body's first desperate alarm. The science confirms this sign is one of the most visible. According to the American Stroke Association, facial drooping or numbness is reported in nearly 70% of ischemic strokes. Yet it's also one of the most commonly ignored because people assume it will pass on its own. The tragedy is it rarely does. So if someone suddenly struggles to smile evenly, or one side of their face feels heavy or numb, don't wait. Ask them to smile. If that smile looks uneven, that is not a small issue, it's a medical emergency. But the face isn't the only place where the body gives itself away. Sometimes the truth shows up in the arms and legs as weakness that makes even the simplest movement nearly impossible. And that weakness can arrive faster than you think. And when the face begins to change, the arms often tell the story next. Picture this: you ask someone to raise both hands in front of them. One arm lifts strong and steady, but the other drifts downward as if weighed down by something invisible. That's not fatigue. That's not clumsiness. That's a stroke stealing strength in real time. I once treated a retired carpenter named Robert. His wife noticed him struggling to hold his coffee mug, the same hands that had built their family home, now trembling, unable to grip. When she asked him to lift both arms, one barely moved at all. It was that moment of recognition, simple but life-saving, that got him into the ER before it was too late. Robert walked out of the hospital weeks later because his wife didn't ignore what his arms were trying to say. Science proves how critical this is. Studies show that sudden weakness or numbness in the arms and legs occurs in over 80% of strokes. Think about that: 4 out of 5 stroke patients will show this sign. Yet too many people miss it, chalking it up to exhaustion or arthritis. Every minute of delay is a minute where the brain is losing its ability to command movement. So the next time you see someone's arm drifting downward, or they complain of sudden weakness on one side, don't second guess it. Don't wait. Test it, notice it, and act. But weakness in the arms is only half the battle. Because when stroke strikes, it doesn't just take away movement, it can also steal the very words from your mouth. And when speech begins to break down, the danger becomes unmistakable. And when the arms begin to fail, the voice often follows. Imagine talking to a loved one, and suddenly their words don't make sense. Maybe the sentences come out slurred, or they're saying the right words but in the wrong order, or worse, nothing comes out at all. It's terrifying because stroke doesn't just attack the body, it can steal your voice, your ability to connect with the world in seconds. I remember a man named James, a grandfather, who loved reading bedtime stories to his grandchildren. One evening, as he started the familiar tale, his family noticed the words were tumbling out, jumbled almost like a foreign language. His granddaughter tugged on his sleeve and whispered, "Grandpa, you sound funny." That innocent comment may have saved his life. They rushed him to the hospital, and within hours, doctors confirmed a stroke. Without his family recognizing that slurred speech, James might never have spoken clearly again. Science shows us just how common this is. According to the National Stroke Association, speech problems, whether slurred, slow, or completely blocked, occur in nearly 70% of strokes. It's one of the easiest signs to spot, but one of the most dangerous to ignore. Because if you wait, those words may never return. So the next time someone suddenly can't form a simple sentence, or their words come out heavy and slurred, don't laugh it off as stress or tiredness. Don't wait to see if it passes. That broken sentence could be the last chance to save their life. But here's the most important part. None of these signs matter if you don't act. Because with stroke, the clock is merciless. And when every minute kills 2 million brain cells, the final letter in BEFAST time is what decides who lives and who doesn't. And here we are, the final letter, the one that matters most, time. Because with stroke, every single second is a race against the clock. You don't get a second chance. You don't get a redo. Once those brain cells die, they're gone forever. I'll never forget a woman named Carol. She was gardening on a quiet Saturday morning when her husband saw her stumble, her speech slurring, her arm limp at her side. He froze, unsure whether to call 911 or just drive her to the hospital himself. That hesitation cost her precious minutes. By the time the ambulance arrived, too much damage had already been done. Carol survived, but she never regained the ability to write her own name. The science here is brutal. The American Heart Association estimates that 2 million brain cells die every minute during a stroke. Treatments can sometimes be given up to 24 hours after symptoms start, but here's the catch. The earlier the treatment, the higher the chance of recovery. Doctors say the golden window is the first 3 to 4.5 hours. Miss that and the odds drop dramatically. That's why you never ever wait. Don't second guess. Don't try to drive them yourself. Call 911 immediately. Paramedics don't just drive faster, they can relay critical information to the hospital before the patient even arrives, shaving off minutes that could mean the difference between walking out or never walking again. And here's the key: when you call, always tell them the last time the person seemed normal. That detail can literally determine what treatment they receive. Time isn't just a letter in BEFAST. Time is life. But even knowing BEFAST isn't enough if you don't understand how to respond once you spot the signs. Because the next step, what you do in those very first moments, can decide the outcome forever. So now you know the signs. Balance eyes, face, arms, speech, and the one that rules them all time. But knowing is only half the battle. What truly saves a life is what you do the moment those signs appear. Here's the #1 rule: never waste a second. Don't wait to see if the symptoms fade. Don't tell yourself you'll drive them to the hospital. That delay could destroy years of memories, years of independence. Call 911 immediately. Emergency crews are trained to recognize stroke, they can begin care on the spot, and most importantly, they can alert the hospital so treatment is ready the moment you arrive. I treated a patient once whose wife did exactly this. The second she saw his face droop, she didn't hesitate. She dialed 911. Because she acted fast, her husband received clot-busting medication within the golden window, and today he's back to hiking with his grandchildren. That one phone call gave him his life back. When you speak to emergency services, there's something else you must remember: always tell them the last time the person appeared normal. That detail decides whether powerful treatments like TPA or even advanced procedures like clot retrieval can be used. Forget that, and doctors may lose their best chance to reverse the damage. And finally, never ever try to drive the person yourself. An ambulance isn't just faster, it's safer. Every bump on the road could make a brain bleed worse. Paramedics are trained to handle emergencies before you even reach the ER. So the response is simple but powerful: recognize, call, communicate, and act. 4 steps that can draw the line between life and death. But here's the truth: even with all these steps, most people still underestimate the danger until it's too late. Which is why the conclusion of this journey matters most, because what I'm about to share will leave you with the single most important message you'll ever hear about stroke. So here's what I want you to take away. A stroke doesn't have to mean the end. With quick recognition and fast action, you can save a life, maybe even your own. Remember: balance eyes, face, arms, speech, and time. 6 simple letters that hold the power to protect everything that matters most. I want to encourage you, don't just watch this video and move on. Save it. Keep it somewhere easy to find, because one day those few seconds of memory could make all the difference. And if this message has helped you, subscribe to this channel. That way you'll never miss the latest health knowledge, the kind that can help you and your family stay safe, strong, and independent. You are not powerless against stroke. You are more prepared now than you were 10 minutes ago. And that preparation is hope. Because every life saved, every moment regained, starts with someone like you, someone who knew what to look for and chose to act. So stay strong, stay aware, and never forget, when it comes to stroke, the fastest response brings the brightest future.